amigos de Ready para Exportar. Hoy traemos una voz muy autorizada para hablarnos cuáles son esas oportunidades que hay en la región del Caribe y cómo la podemos aprovechar. Estamos hablando con el nuevo director ejecutivo de la Agencia del Caribe para el Desarrollo de las Exportaciones, Caribbean Export, Damie Sinanan. Welcome here. You have many years of experience, not only with Caribbean Export, but also with Dominican Republic. In fact, I think we met for the first time here in the Dominican Republic. So welcome. Tell us first a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Diana, and a pleasant good morning, buenos dias, so buenas noches, because I don't know when this will air, to all your viewers. Well, I have been in the area of trade, export development for over 20 years now. I started my career at Exportar, which is the National Export Promotion Agency for Trinidad and Tobago, similar to CEIRD in Dominican Republic. I joined Caribbean Export in 2024, where I started as senior advisor for competitiveness and export promotion. In 2019, I was promoted to manager, and I was just recently, as of July the 1st, appointed to executive director of the agency. So I have a long history in terms of promoting exports in the Caribbean region. I'm very passionate about business and private sector development in the Caribbean region. It's really fulfilling work, and I look forward to really working with small and medium-sized enterprises and larger firms across the Caribbean, including the DR, throughout my tenure as executive director.
Yes, Dominican Republic and the exporters in the Dominican Republic are very familiar with Caribbean export. Can you tell us, looking into the couple of 2 or 3 years down the road, what are the areas of priority for Caribbean export, and how companies from the region, including the Dominican Republic, can tap into those opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have, under my leadership, Caribbean Export will have a laser focus in terms of how we're going to be assisting the private sector. And that really is grounded in building sustainability and resilience among Caribbean businesses. So what we've seen with, the pandemic that happened from 2020 to 2022, what we're seeing with natural disasters, I mean, Hurricane Beryl, we have to build resilience in our small and medium-sized enterprises. They have to be able to become stronger in case natural disasters or things like this happen, because that sets them back many, many years. In Grenada, for example, the hurricane hit, and in one day, so many projects and so many businesses were set back many, many years. So we have to really focus on building a resilient private sector in the Caribbean region, and that is going to be the focus of Caribbean Export under my leadership. And that's really under 3 areas. One, we have to look at digitalization of business. We have to become more digital and more innovative in the way we do business. And that might be simple steps like doing business online or, engaging in more innovative business practices. The second area is in green energy transition. We have to become more greener in the way we do business in the Caribbean region. So our businesses have to become more green and more sustainable. We have to encourage more food production, because again, in the Caribbean region, we import most of our foods. I know the DR does a lot of food production, but we have to up that because there's a lot of trading relationships that can happen within the Caribbean region. And finally, we have to encourage investments into the Caribbean region. So we have to promote the projects and the services and the businesses that we have to investors to bring that much needed capital into the Caribbean region. So that is really going to be my focus for businesses. How can we provide the technical assistance and the funding to really fund that sort of resilience building? And we're going to work very hard to get that done while identifying resources so we can deploy to the Caribbean private sector.
One thing that is happening right now in the Dominican Republic is that more companies and more non-traditional companies are looking at the Caribbean, at the rest of the Caribbean region as a market, not only for export, but also for investment. How can Caribbean Export help companies that are now wanting to tap for opportunity both ways with the rest of the region?
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely essential. I mean, the Dominican Republic is a very large market compared to the rest of the Caribbean region. And you mentioned at the start of the interview, that's where we met first in Dominican Republic, because at that time, I think my export TT, we were trying to encourage more trade between Trinidad and Tobago and the Dominican Republic. And I think over the years, there's been a lot of advances made on both sides in terms of the DR doing business with the rest of the Caribbean and the Caribbean doing business with the Dominican Republic. And that's something that we have to continue. We have to continue to build those relationships. And Caribbean Export intends to do that by continuing to build bridges between DR and the Caribbean region. So is there a way to integrate the DR, needs of the DR, or the opportunities within the DR, make it aware for the rest of the Caribbean region, while overcoming those technical barriers that may exist and the scalability that may exist? So can we get a consortium of firms across the Eastern Caribbean, for example, to look at what the DR have to offer, introduce them to the DR suppliers and the DR importers, and let them do their magic and do those businesses? That's really how I foresee this type of relationship being built.
Yeah, the majority of the businesses in our region are SMEs.
Yes.
And that is a challenge, because a lot of those sectors, energy, that are needed to develop, water, waste management, all of those things require large investments and large companies. How Caribbean Export is seeking to bridge the gap, and I know that the Caribbean Investment Forum is part of that strategy.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is very true. I mean, a small and medium-sized SME in the Dominican Republic might be a large business in one of the smaller Caribbean islands. So there's that sort of, I don't want to call it a mismatch, but there's that sort of dynamics that we have to look at. But really, it's about looking at where the investment opportunities are. There are investment opportunities on every scale. There's a lot of capital that's available in the region. We have a lot of willing investors. What we need to have is the projects. So we need to have bankable projects that we can present to investors. So for example, you may have a lot of investors in the DR who are looking at $1 million projects in the Caribbean region. How can we present those $1 million projects to those investors? Can we work with the SMEs in the Caribbean region so that they can develop a project that can be bankable to an investor in the Dominican Republic, and vice versa, of course? And the Caribbean Investment Forum, that presents that opportunity so that the project and the investor can come together. So over the next few years, Caribbean Export will be focused on building those a portfolio of bankable projects that we can present to investors using the Caribbean Investment Forum as a platform.
Caribbean Export have also diversified the outside market, the third markets, because before, of course, EU, US are still the main markets of our region, but there are others that are emerging, like Africa, like the Middle East. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, I mean, again, and this speaks to what I was saying earlier about building resilience. You can't build resilience if you're exporting or if you're doing business with a very small range of markets. And as you noted, the United States has, for the DR especially, the United States has been sort of the traditional market. Some businesses in the Caribbean region, they look to the United States, but they look to very small markets in the United States, basically the diaspora markets, which are, Miami, New York, Boston to a lesser extent. What we really have to do is to look at new and emerging markets. And two markets I would like to highlight. I mean, we've been doing a lot of work with the European Union, and we've seen a lot of successes with the European Union. But there are other markets as well. Latin America is a huge market, and it's right next door. Can the Caribbean region, I know Dominican Republic has a lot of ties to Latin America, like Central America, Costa Rica, Panama, for example, because you guys are closer culturally and you speak the language and everything. But of course, the rest of the Caribbean, can we work with our suppliers in the Dominican Republic as a beachhead to export to Latin America? To me, that's an excellent opportunity. Latin America is an extremely large market. They have demand for the products and services in the Caribbean region. They have the investors that want to invest in the Caribbean region. Can we work together to look at the Latin America market? And we can start with Central America. That's so close. Their shipping routes directly from Panama to the Caribbean region, to me, it naturally makes sense. And Africa, as you mentioned, to me, it's an emerging market with tremendous potential. Caribbean Export, we did a mission to Africa, Ghana, and Nigeria specifically last year, and we had the representatives from the Dominican Republic come with us. And the reception that we received and the opportunities that presented themselves are absolutely wonderful. So again, how can we work together to build the scale and to build the bankability so that we can approach Africa with projects and goods, services that would make sense for them to trade with the Caribbean region? And I think that that's going to be a challenge, but it's something I see there's a tremendous opportunity. So those would be the two markets that I would say we should put our focus on immediately over the next few years.
You mentioned also digitalization, and of course you have the ULAC Digital Accelerator program that we have promoted also in this program. And it's a challenge because sometimes I think especially the SMEs in the region think digitalization is just using the computer, but there's so much innovation that you can do, innovate the way that you deliver the services or that you interact with customers. And what are those challenges that Caribbean Exports seem to tackle with the digitalization process?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Tiana. I mean, when we talk about digitalization, we're talking about innovation. We're talking about doing business differently. Unfortunately, in the Caribbean region, we're still doing business as if it was 2005. And that's a fact. We have to push our SMEs into do business like it's 2026, not like it's 2024, like it's 2026, because that's where the rest of the world are. And when you talk about digitalization, many SMEs will still think that digitalization is doing business, selling on Amazon and doing e-commerce. We've passed that. We've passed that a long time ago. Digitalization of business involves things like artificial intelligence, AI, Internet of Things, cloud computing, e-payments, digital currencies. This is where many SMEs are trading. In Africa, for example, you have M-Pesa that's happening. You can pay for your products and services digitally. In the Caribbean region, we're now dipping our toes into those areas. So we have to encourage our SMEs. You can't wait, and it's a cultural shift in my mind. You can't wait for these technologies to present themselves. You have to go out and seek those technologies. And we have to get over that hurdle that this will cost businesses plenty of money. It will not. Many of these technologies are free and very affordable. And the savings and the efficiency that you will get from adopting these technologies will make your business competitive. So we have to go out there and we have to look at the opportunities that are available in the digital space. And we have to start doing business like it's 2026 or 2027, because again, that is where the rest of the world is.
Certainly. Unfortunately, time is running, but I can let you go without asking, when are you coming back to the Dominican Republic in your new capacity?
Hopefully soon. I mean, I was there back in, I think it was end of June, maybe. I think I was there in June. But I'm definitely looking towards coming back to the DR. It's one of my favorite places to be. And, we have our office in the Dominican Republic, and my deputy executive director, Leo Naut, and his team are quite good. So I would say by October, I'll definitely be there enjoying some of that good Presidente.
Thank you so much, Dr. Damie Sinanan, Executive Director of Caribbean Export, for being with us today. Y a ustedes los esperamos la próxima semana en Ready para Exportar y en Metrópolis.